Next item, please.
Next item, Board of Education business, acknowledgement of correspondence.
Trustee McDonald.
I had a friend who works in the senior department, senior services.
In
and
the city
she-
of Dearborn?
Yes, for the
All right.
city of Dearborn. And she contacted me. They generally have a program where seniors get help with snow removal. That program cannot continue this year. So she wanted to know if there's a way that we can connect students who need, excuse me, who need community service hours with seniors who need snow removal service. So I'm hoping that we can do that. I contacted Dr. Maleko, and
Yeah, we're working on that. I appreciate the contact. I think it's a positive. We've actually done it with the Student Advisory Council, so I did send something off to Dr. Swayden, and we had our first meeting last month, and then Mr. Martin had sent the information off to the principals, but he's also gonna make a contact to see that we can get something going to help out. So thank you for bringing that
great,
forward.
and I'm all for it. I think it's a good idea, and any way that we can connect seniors with students, I think it's just positive all around.
I know we got several emails from various people. Some we knew that everyone got it. Others were sent individually. I did my best to respond on behalf of the board, so keep all the emails flowing and we'll keep getting responses back to people in a timely manner. Trustee Moses?
Yeah, thank you, Trustee McDonald, for that. I know it's expected, as the scientists are saying, that we're going to have a brutal winter. So I would appreciate the students helping senior citizens
All those snow
remove the
days.
snow, and it's for the safety of all. Yeah, absolutely. And you may get a snow day. We never know. So as a reward.
Anything else for correspondence? All right, Trustee Moses?
Board member committee and organization reports.
Trustee Petlicoff?
All right, I'm gonna report out for our building and site, meeting. I've been instructed to keep it short, but I got 9 or 8 agenda, items on here, so I'll do my very best. Number 1 was, HVAC air handling systems, and our ESSER funds. We, have a process where the, committee went in and inspected all of our buildings and decided that they were going to look at the elementary schools first for those that had the best feasibility for adding air conditioning to their buildings, which means that they had to have some components in it that would be readily available to convert. So they determined that there were 5 elementary schools that they were going to start the process on with $40 million of the ESSER funds, which is only going to do 5 buildings, people. So we know that, but we're at least going to start working towards getting air conditioning, complete air conditioning in our buildings, and this is the beginning process. The next thing we talked about was we continue to have the conversations with Henry Ford College about purchasing the SME building. It belongs to the college, and we would have to transfer ownership over to the P12 in order to pursue using that site. And as we discussed about our Blue Ribbon School at Henry Ford Early College, they're in a basement which is having some real issues, and we could find using this building in the future for our collegiate academies and other uses. It would be very meaningful to us, and it would keep the property within our control. And so we've already started negotiations, appraisals, and looking at a construction manager, and we got some pretty good news about the condition of the building as it stands right now. Now, the third thing was we have the ESSER funds and the building and site funds, and we're selecting a construction manager, and we're looking at an architect firm to use, and we're in the process of selecting them. And we're using a lot of this money to pre-purchase items that we know that we are going to need in the near future for our buildings, such as the air handling products and whatever, because everybody knows the supply chain is very unstable. And so when we can get the opportunity to buy the products that we know we're going to need in the near future, we're gonna go ahead and move forward on that now. So they're in that planning phase as well. Now, we are also gonna be, just as we had a discussion on hiring, changing some of the procedures for hiring processes, we also wanted to have a conversation, and so I want you to be looking for it in board briefs about the change order process and approval, because right now, because of this issue with supply chain and all these construction concerns, sometimes when those change orders come through that we need to approve because they're over a certain dollar figure, it's a time issue. And they want to have the conversation now that we change the dollar amount that we have to approve at a board meeting, because that gap of time, we can lose out on the deal, so to speak, either in hiring subcontractors or product. So be watching your board briefs to see what the conversation is going to be directed towards as to what the threshold would be. Right now, it's pretty low, and it eats into the movement of any construction. We have the underground fuel storage tanks, you'll remember, were taken out at one site and were going to be replaced. They're finding that there are a few issues still with ground contamination, and they're going to do everything they can to clean that up thoroughly. In the meantime, they're putting in another tank at transportation, no, at I didn't take the notes because I wasn't supposed to do this. At the operations warehouse, correct?
We have a two-phase going on.
Okay.
The first phase is the operations warehouse. We removed 2 tanks that we had there because of, like you mentioned, supply chain. Those tanks we won't get till April, March. So we pulled back out right now until we get those new tanks. And we're going out for bid here real soon to replace the 1 tank that's at the transportation yard.
Right.
But instead of putting 2 tanks back at the operations, we're doing 1. And when we do the phase 2 transportation, we're gonna put 2 tanks in there.
Everybody got that?
I can stay up here if you have questions.
Yeah, because I didn't take notes. I wasn't planning on having to do this. All right. So now we're going to, they're redoing the Dearborn High School Media Center. They're holding off on, because of cost, they were gonna add some flex rooms, which were going to really raise the price, so that's not going to be done right now, but they're for a robotics classroom, but they're putting in new paint, new carpet, and freshening it up right now, and they'll be having conversation about moving forward potentially at a later date of doing the rest of the robotics reconfiguration that they were hoping to have now that they the new principal is there. And the potential future projects, we did discuss the bond, which was already discussed about how we could potentially move forward with that, but starting with the committee process. There have athletic track replacements, and we did discuss that we would be looking at potentially adding another full athletic track for middle school as well. We've had that conversation in the past at either Stout or Bryant, which was also included, but the athletic track replacements are for Edsel Ford and Dearborn High School. The turf replacement for Dearborn High School is in 2023, and that's as fast as I could do it.
Trustee Watts.
The finance committee met earlier today, and luckily, it sounds like building and committee has a lot of copying, so I'm not gonna repeat that, but Tom Wall will come and present just quickly, because Plant Moran did our audit, and they'll do a full presentation for the December meeting.
Correct.
But he's just gonna give us a few bullet points.
Yeah, just to keep it very short, the audit was an unmodified opinion, which means it's the cleanest opinion they can give. They know internal control issues here for the K-12 side, so that was very positive. It actually had to be submitted to the state by November 1st, which has already been done. And so we had the finance committee go into a little more detail about what's in there. Nothing was a surprise. And then they'll report out fully in December to the full board. Do you want me
Thank
to keep
you.
going? The
No.
other couple items we talked about was the CM contracts. They'll be coming forward in December. We talked about our financial reports that the board committees can talk about what kind of details. So as part of the financial reports going forward, starting in January, you'll actually get one for construction also on this $80 million project. And we also talked about the purchase of the buildings at HFC, which we covered the same items at the building and site. Thank you.
Thanks. All right, the policy committee met.
And then I also have
Oh,
to talk
sorry.
about Dearborn Head Foundation, just briefly.
Yes.
So we met last month, and the golf event was very successful. They ended up with 76 total golfers. They were able to have an income of $51,613, and Mardi Gras is on the calendar for March 1st. So,
Thank you. Policy committee, trustee Barry.
Yes, sir. We met earlier this evening. The first thing, that's what I meant by hold that thought. Regarding voting, board members cannot vote or participate in a meeting remotely unless they are on active military duty. That's going to be as of January 1st, okay? We changed our policy a few years ago, more than a few years ago, when one of our former board members got sick, and I don't know if you remember that,
Yeah.
so, but we no longer can
Was
do
for
that.
Pam, yeah.
We could no longer do this on
Right.
January 1st, so we thought about maybe suspending our policy tonight to have a little discussion and maybe vote on our next meeting so we can be legal by January 1st, but trustee Watts mentioned that, remind us that we're meeting at the college. So make a mental note, we will have our discussion at the next Dearborn Public School meeting, put it to vote the following week, so we
At
can be.
the December college meeting.
Correct, sir.
Okay.
Okay. The other thing we covered was guideline 3120D. We're trying to clear up using leave of absence. We'll report to you at the next meeting there. And also, what else did we cover? We covered anti-harassment. There was a good discussion there. That's one of the policies we're reviewing. And we asked for more information from David. He's going to bring it to us at the next meeting. And it sounds like we finally finalized the facility use moving forward. I don't know if Dr. Maleko, if you want to comment on that.
Yeah, we're looking at, allowing for some discounts for those that have members from the community. It's something that the committee was, comfortable with. And so David has been researching other districts with Yana. And so we're going to be looking, now he did say, there could be some budget impact, obviously, but I don't think we're talking about huge numbers, so we'd have to monitor it. But we'd be looking at, and we do have different layers through that facilities guideline, and we have the agreement with the city. But this may allow those that are, serving our students that can show that they have students that are participating, that they would have, discounts. One thing we do have to say is a lot of times, if it's during the week and we have staff, then it's less of a cost. But the ones that want Saturday and Sunday, we have to bring staff in for that. So there's automatically costs so that when we do give the price, so that's just one thing to mention. I don't know, Derek.
This is,
But
this
we're
will be.
gonna
this
have a
will-
meeting, we're gonna have a meeting before we bring this forward.
Yeah, this will be
so that-
for nonprofits where their members are, 80% of their members are current Dearborn residents.
Yeah,
So they'll
but
be,
I will have questions about that because monitoring that and all that kind of stuff is gonna, I just will have questions.
sure, we'll bring it up at the
So,
next
yeah.
meeting, then you can, we'll answer the questions. Mr. President, that's all I have for policy.
Trustee
Barry.
Moza.
Yeah, Trustee Petlicoff, I think if you have questions, you would have to talk with Dr. Maliko because this is not a policy that we're going to approve. this is more of a guidelines that the administration will change. So whatever questions that you have about this, perhaps you can address them before this change will take place. I don't think this is a policy that we're changing.
It'd be changes to the facility usage manual. Is what-
That's a-
our-
that's
our
an-
procedure. Yeah.
That's an
So you're saying this
administrative
is
move.
not something we would be voting on?
It's an administrative move, it's an administration move.
But only 3 people got to participate in this conversation. What about the rest of us who
That's
might have
why-
thoughts?
That's why we're here.
Yeah,
That's
well,
why I
but
asked-
I haven't seen it, so I can't have the conversation.
So it can be an item then for the December meeting.
And it's 9:58 if anybody.
I'm watching the time. All right.
We're not gonna make it on time, but I have a question about to the finance committee about the ESSER funds. Does that expire in 2 years that where we have to spend this money?
I believe it expires in 2023.
That is correct. It expires in September of 2023, and there's 1 year if the state approves it to carry on through 24. But for practical purposes, we have to spend it by 23, September 23.
Could I have a motion to extend the meeting by 15 minutes?
So moved.
Support?
Roll call?
Trustee Barry,
Yes.
trustee D'Ambrosio,
Yes.
trustee McDonald,
Yes.
trustee Mazzup, yes, trustee Petlicoff,
Yes.
trustee Watts,
Yes.
President Thorpe.
Yes. All right, anything else for committee and organization reports? Trustee McDonald?
While we're discussing policy, I just noticed this when I was reading this earlier today. In the policy that we had on hires, it had talked about a relative, the definition of a relative as related to a relative of a board member. And it has everything in there, grandmother, grandfather, the stepsons and everything. But it does not, and it includes grandparents, but it doesn't include grandchildren. And with the age of some of the board members, I think maybe
Watch
that ought to be
yourself.
Hey,
inclusive.
yeah, I was gonna say, wait a minute.
I'm right up there too. But
Shots
it-
fired.
I think we're more inclined to have grandchildren higher than grandparents. So anyway, that's just something that I wanted to bring up.
You know, let's go back to what I was talking about in policy regarding our facility use. The way we understood it in the committee is that this is just an administration decision, and you were looking for some kind of guidance, and we were gonna open it up for discussion tonight. Correct me if I'm wrong here, Mr. President. This is not a policy, we're not changing the policy, so we don't have to bring it back in for a vote.
It was, I was not expecting this, I was thinking that this was a policy. And it wasn't something that I had previous knowledge was going to need to be a discussion item either. So apologies if I misunderstood that one. But it does sound like this is something that we would want to revisit, possibly then at the next board meeting. Make sure that we've got everything answered and that we're all comfortable with it.
Okay, David, we're good with that? Thank you, sir.
All right. Trustee Moses, next.
Next item is board member superintendent commentary.
Trustee Watts.
Just a few things because it's been a very fast month. It's gonna be fast.
Very few things.
Number one, I just wanted to commend Fortson football. This weekend, they beat Woodhaven.
Yes.
And
They beat Cass Tech first, and then they beat
yes,
Woodhaven,
yes, and I
so
believe,
rain.
I'm sure you'll tell me if I'm wrong, but I believe next is Belleville. So,
Yes.
Yes,
Belleville.
yep, Belleville's gonna be next. So
regionals.
Yep, so congrats to Fortson. And I also wanted to say that I know a lot of the schools were able to pivot their Halloween activities. I know we saw some haunted car washes happen. And I know at Lindbergh, they did Fall Fest outside and they did a tremendous job and the kids loved it. So I was able to attend and drag my daughter, who did not want to leave, away, but they did a great job. So it was amazing to see what they were able to do. And I'm going to steal his thunder, but Lindbergh's Holiday Boutique is this Saturday. 9:30 to 4. So they're gonna have local artists from our community selling tables, or they'll have a table where they're able to sell their crafts and their goods and some teas and whatnot, so.
I'll expand on what Trustee Watts said about the Halloween events to thank the PTAs and the staffs and everyone at the local buildings for doing everything that they can to bring the normal back
Yes.
for the kids. Even if we're not able to do some of the events the way we had done them previously, whether it was the homecoming dances, everybody is working together. So thank you to all those groups that are doing that to help these kids out and give them the most normal experience that we can.
I only have 2 more things. Congratulations to all of those who were elected on Tuesday. I know they had great weather, so congratulations to all of those. And also to those, I want to thank all of those who unfortunately didn't win, but they did
Participate.
right, they did extend themselves. And I wanted to say, I met a Dearborn High student who was working the polls at Lindbergh. And Adam Martin, I'm sure you know him, Mohammed Sob. He is a wonderful 14-year-old. And I told him that I was going to mention his name. And he is such an inspiration. And he's like an old man in his body. He's just a wonderful individual. And I'm sure at some point when he turns 21 or 22, we're going to know his name. So that's it. Thank you.
Trustee Barry, was there any additional items?
I
you were
was
gonna
gonna
have for
mention
that?
the Lindbergh holiday boutique.
All right, Trustee Moses.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, quickly. First, rewarding back to October, Etzel Ford Soccer reached district championship for the second time. They were unsuccessful. They actually put up an amazing fight after 2 of their players were ejected in the first half, and that was a very unfortunate situation unfolding in front of everybody's who were at the stands. Etzel was actually able to equalize the game in the second half and electrifying the crowds, but they were short with the host Woodhaven scoring the second goal. But they put up such a great fight, although their coach was not at the sidelines as he was ejected too from the game. And very unfortunate situations happen when emotions were very high. So I commend the players, their coaches for the amazing season they had. Fortson did take some kind of revenge for them and beat Woodhaven. So congratulations to Fortson football team again for that win. And one thing that I'd like to mention, something that has been always a conversation here at this table, and we had it also at the policy committee about bullying and bullying on buses. It's something that it should be unacceptable. We should always have a consistent way of delivering bullying consequences, as well as making sure that we have more up standards for our students who are getting bullied, and to have no bullying in our schools and our buses. Reckless driving also is still at the rise in our city. Unfortunately, past 2 days, a 6-year-old passed away in a reckless speeding incident. And that student, as confirmed, was not a Dearborn school student, but she was a Dearborn resident. And it could have been any of our daughters. So I send my condolences on behalf of the board to that family of the child, and that should be a wake-up call for all of us to address the situation in our schools as well with our students. So once again, and on the bright side, congratulations to Fortson. We wish them well on Saturday, and we hope that they will win regionals. Thank you.
Trustee Petlicoff.
Well, Trustee Moses, I was going to also mention the unfortunate tragedy. It was in Aviation neighborhood, which is contingent to my neighborhood. These are congested streets, a lot of parked cars, a lot of distracted drivers, and a lot of children. And now that daylight savings time has changed, it's getting dark out much earlier. And you're having young children out as well. It's something that we never want to see. It's something that everybody fears. And it's been a hot topic of conversation, especially during this election cycle, about reckless driving, careless driving, and it needs to be addressed in a variety of ways. And I just wanted to bring that up as well as congratulate all those who went through the November election cycle.
Trustee McDonald.
Yes, Thursday is Veterans Day, and I just want to thank all of our veterans and for their sacrifice, and I want to thank their families for their support of the veterans and their sacrifice. So don't forget to thank a veteran on Veterans Day.
And prior to our next board meeting, we will all get to celebrate Thanksgiving. So on behalf of the board, we wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. We hope you get a chance to get away and just be able to recharge, spend time with your family. And maybe, God only hopes, the Lions could win a game.
You're funny.
All right, next, Trustee Moses.
Yeah, request for information and/or future agenda items.
Trustee Watts.
Right.
So I had asked last time, I think a couple months ago, just to find out how many student athletes have moved on to the collegiate level. But I'd like to get a more in-depth report as to the Title IX athletics, to see some of the, see if we can get a report with the funds that we're using for the men's, well, the boys' athletics and versus the girls, and what sort of options and the sports programs have for both.
Okay. Trustee Moses.
Yeah, a citizen commented on the amount of detentions in one day in one of our high schools. I'd like to get a breakdown of the amount of detentions in high schools, not just the one mentioned, but the three, and a breakdown of the reason for detentions. And yeah, after that information, we'll hopefully have a discussion on how to reduce these and also implement restorative practices to avoid these type of punishments.
For this year?
What time frame are you looking for, Trustee
Yeah,
Moses?
this year would be appreciated if we can have the next meeting or the meeting after.
I don't think, well, there wouldn't really be any
During
2020.
COVID, that they were, yeah.
So, yeah.
Virtual detention, I don't know.
All right, any other requests
Yeah,
for
correct.
information or future agenda items? Next item.
Future meeting dates, Monday, November 15th, 2021, HFC Board of Trustees Policy Committee meeting, 6 p.m. at the Administrative Services and Conference Center in the Cabinet Conference Room. Monday, November 15th, 2021, HFC Board of Trustees meeting, 7 p.m. at the Administrative Services and Conference Center, Henry Ford College in the Rosenau Boardroom. Monday, December 6th, 2021, P12 Board of Education meeting, 7 p.m. at the Administrative Service Center in the Frank Franchi Boardroom.
We are adjourned. Everyone have a good evening.